suffering here and can be a part of a solution. Right? It's the end of a day where I am not yet ready to go into specific stories. To be frank with you, I need some time to process what I saw today. But I can tell you that the folks that I met restored my faith in humanity, which is a common theme. Meeting volunteers at some of the areas other than the airport here that are providing food and comfort. Right. It was also a day that was clarifying for me that this is the level of human suffering here and the level of help that's needed is what many of us experienced and helped it after Hurricane Katrina. It's natural to sort of figure out how it is in comparison to Hurricane Katrina that many of us were familiar with, right? But this is just a whole another level, and I'll share more of that tomorrow. If you just let me process this a little bit, but just trust me that having been there on the ground, everybody that I talked to that had a piece of helping encourage Hurricane Katrina, there's unanimous agreement that this is just a whole different level of need, and a much tougher nut to crack to help these folks out, right? What I'd like to do is start with what those updated needs are, and we'll get ourselves more organized. But for now, I'm going to start with the volunteer needs, because those are going to become harder to meet than just providing material. That's the relatively easy part. The hard part is getting volunteers to be here for the long term, to at least be here through the winter, to get these folks through the winter. It's going to be a challenge to get the hearts and hands here, right? And I was able to speak with you and General Flynn throughout the day in a couple of different places, and there's just one thing that he got a little bit wrong, and I want to make sure I clarify that for you now. And once he's spent a day on the ground, he won't make this mistake. A day on the ground, if he sees what the volunteers are doing, he accidentally said out loud that we have a need for 30 people per day, right? And we've been saying 50 people is what we can handle, but as we mature, that number may go up. But that was the only thing that I heard from him that I wanted to correct, so that you knew that we can absolutely use 50 sets of hands and 50 warm hearts per day. Right. Our routine of asking to have 3 side-by-sides with 3-man crews that can go out, fill needs, bring back intel for us to plan for the next operations is consistent, as is 6 pairs of 4x4s that can go out together, 4x4 trucks that can go out with 2 people in each. For now, we have enough trailers here within the fence line. That may change. And asking for 3 people to provide pastoral help for the people for the volunteers that are working here to help keep us in a position that we can help others break. One of the things that we did as we traveled around to various places and saw how other distribution points were working, it was great to see that there are people in those places that it's a universal, seems like a universal truth that volunteers blessing to know that there are wonderfully good-hearted people trying to help total strangers who need the help that only volunteers can provide. Right now, the government isn't providing the help they should have, right? And for the material things, the point was driven home that we need the things, and part of what drew me in was every day. Kahuna would paint a picture of what you need if everything has been washed away. And after meeting people that had lost absolutely everything except the clothes on their back, and they were talking to me with donated clothes on their back. So he lost everything in there, now standing in front of me talking, and they're just glad that they've got their health. The woman pregnant with their first baby, and so the important things are taken care of. They're continuing their family, and they'll figure out the other stuff. But that's the level of challenge we have. We've got to keep, we've got to make cold bodies warm and hungry bellies full through the winter. And once the spring comes, it hopefully will be easier to figure out what we do longer term. But that's our initial challenge, just to figure out how we get cold bodies warm and hungry bellies full through the winter, right? And so as I talk you through the changes to the urgent needs, I missed our evening planning meeting. I was coming back here and missed that, and that's not a bad thing, because we have one version of the truth, and it's on a whiteboard. And I'm telling you now that it had been our position that we had enough AEDs. Now, once I figure out what an SPPD is, we need AEDs to support them. And I get that. I understand that AEDs are expensive, so that may be one that we don't all rush out to go. No, I don't see a quantity, so know that we need AEDs. If there's somebody that knows how they can put a hand on one quickly, start with one, and then I'll get you all a quantity so that we don't get more than we need here, right? And that is one in addition to the one that I told you about. Somebody, me seeing somebody ready to donate one, grabbing it from his hand, bringing it to medical, and asking the yes/no question of Doc Barb, do you want an AED, yes or no? And the answer was absolutely yes. So we need more of those. Break. And I'll find out in the morning how many more. Break. I started damp rid this morning or last night, but after walking in buildings where the mud had been cleaned out, I appreciate more the importance of the fans, the dehumidifiers, the damp rid. That need is real. So keep bringing that to us. Break. Somebody told me as I came over to the radio that they're working on somebody to donate our fleet of 10 Garmin GPS map 67 eyes. We don't need more than one, but until there's a commitment, that need is still out there. And as a guy that ran back to get stuff before going on a trip where I had 2 minutes to plan for it, right? The one thing that I wanted to make sure I had was my 66i, and what we want are the 67i's, and maybe I misspoke. The 67i is what we want. Longer battery life, USB-C recharging. That's what we're asking for.
Auto mode.
Until it shows up here. Break. My sense is that it won't be long before 20 of them are usable, so if you know somebody that may want to